It is a Saturday evening. It's a summer night, in fact. Grasshoppers chirping. It just rained. The kids are sleeping soundly upstairs. All the housework is done. You plop down on your hand-me-down couch, the third of which you've owned since you've moved into this house. The house needs a lot of work, but not tonight. Because tonight, with your little bit of free time, you're going to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It has just come out for the Switch 2, and you are so excited because you loved Final Fantasy VII Remake, even though, yeah, it did come out 4 months ago, and you kind of just got around to finishing it now, and you did get it on release. That's true. You grab your Pro Controller, you open your Coconut Cream Dr. Pepper Zero, because, hey, you're trying to lose weight. And as you begin to hear that iconic score, you feel yourself going back to the way it used to be. It's gonna feel like it used to feel. I wish I could tell you that that's the first time that that's happened to me. I wish I could tell you that I'm the first one that that's ever happened to. Odds are good that if you're here, you've also been there. Or maybe you never even got that far. You turned on your PC, you stared at the screen or your Steam library for about 10 minutes, and then you decided, you know what, it's time for bed. I have a really hard time getting to just sit down and enjoy my gaming time like I used to. I'm also a full-time employee of the arts, a husband, a homeowner, and a father, aka a dad. A big part of becoming a dad is accepting that it's not about you anymore. What you want doesn't really matter as much as finding time to enjoy that third rewatch of Off Campus with your wife, or getting to watch Super Kitties while you get your hair braided by your daughter. Now, most who are fathers, expecting to be fathers, want to be a father someday, probably have some form of that good old fear of missing out, which we'll affectionately refer to as FOMO. Makes everything just awful. But there are ways we can conquer this. In order to, 1, conquer our FOMO so we can, 2, enjoy gaming responsibly as a hobby, we need to identify the problems that are holding us back. The problems are not your family, by the way. If you thought that I was going to tell you to abandon your family to go buy a Wii U, you should talk to a therapist. Tell me what they said in the comments below, please. We can carve out a better future for our gamer boys and girls. And they can have it better than we ever did, because that's kind of the point, I think. Our first problem is going to be something that Black Mirror hit on a long time ago, man. It really be that phone. It's cool because there's a lot of stuff with this that's possible that wasn't possible before. However, it is also the downfall of our society. See, being able to instantly tap into any discussion at any time, whenever you want, regardless of what mental state you're in, is kind of dangerous. These people will give you their opinions without you knowing their context, who they are, where they're from, what their biases are, if they've even played the game. I think you know the answer. This is poison to the way that we endemically enjoy media. Picking a game you liked because of the commercial, because of the cover art, because your friend lent it to you and said, hey, this game's baller. It was 2005. Completely changes your expectations for the experience that you're about to experience. I'm certainly not the first one to think of it this way. You know, us seeking out what is considered good and being answered by streamers and Reddit forums is probably really bad for us. But the fact is that streamers and Reddit have echo-chambered opinions to the point where there is now considered factual opinions. The Switch 2, I find, is a really great example of we have made up our minds before we're even there yet. Most people who loudly hate the Switch 2 are finding and inventing all kinds of ways to disparage the console without having any intent to buy one, play one, even look to see if it's something that they're interested in. They don't care. The Switch 2 is the enemy. That is the stance that we've taken. You have to stop letting the internet pick the games you play. Here's my solution. Enter the bucket system.
Gentlemen, behold!
No, not that bucket. You could pull your phone out of it. I'm not going to tell you to throw away your smartphone or something. I mean, hey, what else are you going to play Balatro on, man? No, the bucket system allows us to return to that time-honored tradition of my parents only buy me a video game for my birthday and for Christmas, which for me is 6 months apart from each other. Exactly. I just have to roll with what they get me and hope to God they didn't buy me Ride to Hell Retribution. See, I have this theory. I call it rose-tinted glasses. You can call it nostalgia. But I really do think that because growing up we didn't have everything at our fingertips at all times, we had to get so much more intimate with what we did have. We didn't get hit with choice paralysis from a Steam library with tens of thousands of games in it. I think back to how having that limited selection really made us appreciate and enjoy what we did have. When my parents got me my first Xbox for Christmas in 2004, it came with 2 games. Halo 2, which was the game that I asked for, and my mom was kind of concerned about it because it was a rated M game, and all that she had known was that there was a big green guy who was shooting other guys, and she asked my dad, is this going to be too violent for our 9-year-old? My dad said, no, they're aliens. Their blood is bright blue and green. So my mom was like, yeah, okay, that's probably fine. And honestly, good call from him. Now, the thing about that, though, is the other game that he bought me was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, which is crazy that my mom didn't ask about that one. It was on the news in the 90s, man. That game features Liu Kang getting his neck snapped in the first minute of the game. So I actually ended up becoming a huge fan of Mortal Kombat despite that crazy-ass neck snap. Because at first I didn't really get the game. I hadn't played a fighting game yet. Persevering allowed me to find something else that I loved that I never would have thought I loved. It was a game that was not on my radar. I had never heard of Mortal Kombat before then. And then I found that really cool Adema music video that they did to promote Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, which was like the most 2000 things ever, but it's my 2000 things ever. And I'm willing to bet you have your own version of that from when you were a child, where you had to make do with the limitations you were provided. And that ended up being a wholly unique experience to you. And then when your parents did add that third game, it's like your whole world opened up, man, because you already knew everything there was to know about the other 2 games. My dad, his third Xbox game for me was Ninja Gaiden Black, so it's like win after win, you know? The reasoning for that story is limitation breeds appreciation, and by limiting your choices to a very specific choice, you're going to actually find that you get to the good part, which is playing the games much faster. This is not my original idea. I got this from another YouTube video. I have it linked in the comments below. So here's how you do it. You select 3 games or whatever other media you want to throw in there, and you put them in, and those are your choices. When you are ready to play a game, your choices are limited to what is in that bit. I usually find it's best to pick 3 different experiences. You may want to try 3 different shooters, but maybe an RPG, a shooter, and something retro could be cool. And then when you finally do get those precious moments on your couch or at your desk or in your bed, you don't have to fight the battle of, oh God, what the hell do I play? Because obviously you want to play it all. Part of what's great about gaming is that it is such a multitude of experiences. But we also don't have that kind of time anymore. We gotta start organizing it just somehow. What I like to do is I like to have a narrative-focused game, then something that's more pick up and play, and then usually something retro. For a while, my bin was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Animal Crossing New Leaf, and Gunstar Heroes. I got really sad about Destiny 2, so now it's Destiny 2. It's a complicated thing. This doesn't have to be physical. I'm a physical collector, so I like to have a physical bin with physical things in it. You don't have to have the games themselves. You can use some kind of totem like what I did for Destiny 2. You could just write it in a notes app on your phone. Honestly, that's fine too. I don't care. Do it work. When it's time to swap something out, you actively know and can say, okay, I'm done with this experience, and I'm bringing a new one in, and this is my pool that I can pull from. The ability to just focus on a few titles at a time really makes you appreciate, once again, that you can just play games, dude. And that's what this is about, being able to just go back to playing the game. Okay, but like, I hear you, but how do I do that when I'm at the end of a long work week and the last thing I want is to be chained to a desk? And I hear you say that through your screen. Don't worry, I thought about that too. Handheld gaming has been my true savior through all of this. I can't really stand to be at a desk much these days, and I have to be selective about what I enjoy and where I enjoy it. Handheld gaming enables flexibility that us old folks just need in our life to be able to enjoy things. You'd be surprised how many little moments in the day that are quiet and lulled that you can just pop one of these bad boys out, rip a game or two for a little bit, and put it back. Okay, well, what if you don't care about like the latest and greatest games because some streamer told you that games are all woke and suck now? Have you heard of retro gaming? Retro is very much its own beast. One that I know well, because prior to COVID, retro was very, very low key, and now I think it's still kind of low key, but for the most part, it is much more known out there and expensive. How can this be a viable alternative to modern consoles when the 3DS is going for like $300, like the good ones, you know? And that's true, they are expensive, they're trendy. But it depends on what you're picking up and what you choose to do with it. Yeah, the Pokemon games do require you to put your lungs down as a down payment to actually own them. Those are the games that everybody wants. What people forget is the multitude of the myth. What about a game like New Super Mario Bros., Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker? These are all way cheaper. Hardware is cheaper. They're still great games, great experiences. So you have options, and you can choose how you start to collect and what you collect. You can even set your own rules. It's awesome. And if you only really care about the consoles, the hardware, you don't really care about owning the software, there are a litany of choices for you to experience games that I can't get into detail with. Gaming can be an expensive hobby, but not always, and you shouldn't let that lock you out of it. Something that's beautiful about retro gaming is that most people don't really care how you experience it as long as you experience it and enjoy it. I don't really care how you're playing Chrono Trigger. You could be playing it on cartridge on the SNES, you could be playing it on the DS, on an R4 card. Probably don't play the iOS port. Don't hurt yourself like that. But the fact is you could experience Chrono Trigger whatever way is easiest for you, and that's probably going to build a memory too. That's part of what makes this hobby such a connected one, because you and I can always bond over our experience of Chrono Trigger regardless of how we played it. You played it on SNES, I played it on DS, the third guy played it on iOS, we don't talk to him. Retro gaming also has this odd benefit of being able to be a time capsule into what gaming was like at that time. And look, I know I'm old. I played Sonic 2 plugged into a cartridge, plugged into my Sega Genesis because I wanted to play as Knuckles. I'm old. What's cooler than getting to relive that experience in whichever way you want? Hardware, software. The excitement comes from getting to reconnect with a part of you that you thought you lost. It's golden. It really is. Now imagine someone getting a chance to try that for the first time. Imagine someone who's never gotten to play a Dreamcast. They never got to play an original Xbox. And now they get to go back and see what things were like then. They get to see that games didn't used to demand hundreds of dollars from you every 3 months. These games were made by a couple of guys in a room with cigarette addictions. This yields a vastly different product. If this all sounds too good to be true, I kind of get it. I used to avoid retro because personally to me, I thought it was kind of a waste of money. You could emulate everything. Everything changed for me one summer. I started going to Classic Game Fest with some of my friends in Austin, Texas. Originally, I agreed to go because I thought it sounded cool, but I wasn't really planning on picking anything up. This last year, we decided to go, and on the way there, I happened to listen to a video about a guy who used to emulate, and this ended up being a really interesting synchronicity for me, which is a connection. He basically said, yeah, I can have every SNES game from every region available at my fingertips at all times with ROMs, but it's a bunch of files in a folder. What does that mean to me? What connection do I have to those? What makes them anything special? And to echo our earlier point, how the hell do you even pick which game you play out of that? It got to be too much. So for him, it made more sense to start physically collecting games. So he had that tactile feel of adding a game to his collection, getting a story tied to it. It became a new option to explore, a new item for the shelf, a new notch in the belt. And that really sat in my head all weekend. And then in a truthfully impulsive purchase, I made the decision to pick something cool up. This Game Boy Advance is what started my change of heart, truly. It's not modded, it's all OEM. It doesn't have an EverDrive. When I picked it up, I only had 2 games for it. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters 2006, which was my original game that I was hunting that year. Actually kind of hard to find. And even with the friction of I have to manually save the games, I have to swap the cartridges out, this screen is a war crime for the eyes. The battery life is restricted. I had the most fun gaming that I had in a very long time. That was so sad. Hold on. I had the most fun gaming that I had in a very long time. And part of it was the experience of getting to hold an honest-to-God Game Boy Advance and just enjoy the tactile feel of it. It's not the same emulating it on your phone. It's just not. Retro games are a combination of all of the best things about being a collectible. They're infinitely playable. They look great on a shelf. Great vibes, great conversations, great memories. They aren't exactly the S&P 500, but they hold value decently well. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, so I know a thing or two about a volatile market, okay? This combination of things really made me love and appreciate the hobby, even with my limited time. And let's face it, if your kids are growing up around them, it's only a matter of time until it's their turn to hold the controller. Hey, Timmy, you ever heard of Dark Souls? By now in this essay, I've sold you on quite a few big ideas. I have one more up my sleeve, though. And this is going to be kind of a difficult pill to swallow. I think you need to hear it, though. Let's rip off the adhesive medical strip now. This is not that serious. Part of what makes hobbies so enjoyable is that they're not life or death. They don't end your career. Your livelihood is not based on if you own Pokemon Emerald on a physical cartridge, unless you're a streamer or content creator. We've talked before about how much influence these people can have over gaming culture, gaming lifestyle, but we also have to acknowledge that when all you can see in the hobby is these guys who play games all day for a living, you can't help but start to feel that fear of missing out. These guys get to have fun all day. They get to sit on their butts and play video games all day. I want to do that, but that's FOMO. You don't know what it's like, man. You don't know if that's enjoyable. You don't know if these people are really enjoying this experience. Are they going to shred through that game and then never think about it again versus you spending 200 hours on a game and it becoming a real experience to you? You and I are just normal folks. And that's what makes gaming so great. We can't play every single new release that comes out day one because the only way to do that realistically is to do it for a living. But to be honest with you, I don't really think I would want to do that. I don't think I want that to be my life. I think part of why these experiences stick so well to me is because that's what they are. They're an experience. It's time. It's investment. Part of why I love what I love so much is because that time is sacred. When I do finally get to share it with my kids, it's going to be our thing, not the whole world's thing. It's really helpful to remember that it's not the end all be all, just something that I love. How can you love this hobby when you're so busy? And I guess the answer might just be to do it less. Do it intentionally. Do it with limitations and friction. But most importantly, do it for yourself. Do it because you love it, not because somebody else told you to. And honestly, you might disagree with everything I said in this video, and that's fine, as long as you're doing it for you. I chose to start this video off with an alarm clock waking me up on my couch because I fell asleep on the couch not getting past the title screen. I did that because honestly, it's probably going to happen again. Here's what I know now that I didn't really know before. The anticipation of finally getting to sit down with a game I could love or hate, that's the hobby. Not the hours logged, not the backlog cleared, not keeping up with whatever stupid discourse is exploding on Reddit this week. When I think back, my greatest memory was never finishing a game. It was my dad handing me a controller and showing me Spyro the Dragon, and my world opening up from there. That's what you're protecting when you carve out that hour to game, or when you're fitting it in between all the banalities every day. That's what you get to pass down to your child when they ask to hold the controller for the first time. So do it with limitations. Do it intentionally. Do it on that 25-year-old screen with no backlight that makes your eyes bleed just a little bit, as long as you just do it. Because someday your child is going to remember exactly what game they were playing when you handed them the controller for the first time. Make it worth remembering. Thanks for watching.